This story is titled, Girlfriend Broke Up With Me After Her Coworkers Said, I'm Not in Her League. 5 hours later, she regrets it all and is begging for another chance. Hey everyone, before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Hi Reddit, I'm a 28-year-old guy from a small town in the Midwest, and I've been holding on to this story for a while. I guess it's time to get it all out. I want to talk about my ex, Amelia, and how things unraveled between us. This all started back in high school, so let me take you there first. Amelia and I met during sophomore year. She wasn't the loud, attention-seeking type like a lot of other girls in our grade. She was more of the quiet, keep-to-herself kind of person, but once you got her talking, she had this way of lighting up, like she had a million dreams in her head, all trying to spill out at once. She wanted to work in publishing and dreamed of living in a big city, working with books, and maybe even writing her own someday. I was hooked from the start. Me? I wasn't what you'd call ambitious back then. I wasn't failing classes or anything, but I didn't have my life planned out the way Amelia did. I was the guy who was always fixing things. If something broke in shop class, I'd be the one the teacher called over. If my friend's parents needed help with a leaky faucet, I'd be there with a wrench. By junior year, I realized I could turn that into a business. So while other kids were worried about prom or the SATs, I was setting up a small plumbing operation. By the time senior year rolled around, Amelia and I were inseparable. We went to prom together, watched crappy rom-coms in my parents' basement, and spent hours talking about our futures. I don't know how to explain it, but we just clicked. She was my first everything. First kiss, first love, first real heartbreak. But we'll get to that. Amelia got into a prestigious university, and I couldn't have been prouder. I still remember the day she got her acceptance letter. She ran over to my house, waving the envelope like it was a golden ticket. I hugged her so tight I thought I might break her. That was Amelia, though. Always aiming high, always pushing herself. When she left for school, I didn't see it as the end of us. I saw it as the next step. I kept working on my plumbing business, and by then it was doing pretty well. Nothing glamorous, but steady money was coming in. I figured if she was chasing her dream, the least I could do was make sure she didn't have to worry about things like rent or groceries. So that's what I did. I helped pay her rent, sent her money for books, and even surprised her with care packages during finals week. I'd drive 4 hours to her dorm just to spend the weekend together. It wasn't easy, but I didn't mind. She was my girl, and I wanted to make her life easier so she could focus on school. I'll admit, there were moments when it felt like I was putting in more effort than she was. Amelia was busy with classes, internships, and networking events, which I understood. But sometimes I'd call or text her, and it felt like I was interrupting something more important. She'd say things like, "Sorry, I've just been so swamped," or, "We'll talk later, okay?" Later didn't always come, but when we were together, it was like no time had passed. I'd visit her, and we'd spend hours just walking around campus or sitting in her tiny apartment, talking about everything and nothing. Those were the moments that kept me going. After she graduated, Amelia landed a job at a well-known publishing house. It wasn't her dream role. She wasn't editing bestsellers or writing her own book yet, but it was a start. She was excited, and I was excited for her. I thought, we made it through the hard part. Now it's time to build our future. By then, my plumbing business was doing better than ever. I'd expanded, hired a couple of guys to help with the workload, and was even thinking about opening a second location. I was proud of what I'd built, even if it wasn't the kind of job that came with fancy titles or a corner office. Amelia used to joke, "You're the CEO of Pipes," and I loved that she could see the humor in it. For a while, things were good. I kept supporting her the way I always had. If she needed help with anything, I'd send her the money. If she had a big project at work, I'd show up with her favorite takeout so she wouldn't have to cook. On weekends, we'd take little trips or just hang out and binge watch whatever show we were into at the time. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. But there were signs that things weren't as solid as I thought. Her work seemed to take over her life. She loved what she was doing, but it was like she was always trying to prove something. To her boss, her coworkers, maybe even to herself. I'd try to get her to slow down, to take a break, but she'd say things like, "You don't get it. In this industry, you have to hustle." I tried to be understanding, but there were times when it felt like we were growing apart. I didn't want to admit it, though. I figured every couple goes through rough patches, and we'd get through ours too. After all, we'd been together since we were kids. If anyone could make it, it was us. At least, that's what I thought before Liz showed up. Liz was one of Amelia's coworkers, and at first, she seemed cool. Amelia would mention her here and there, saying stuff like, Liz says she's jealous of how supportive you are, or Liz thinks it's sweet that you drive me lunch when I'm too busy to leave the office. I didn't think much of it. It's normal for people to talk about their relationships at work, right? But Liz wasn't just talking. She was planting seeds. The first time I noticed something off was when Amelia mentioned a casual conversation they had during lunch. Apparently, Liz said, You're so lucky your boyfriend supports you chasing your dreams. Most guys would feel threatened by a woman with ambition. Sounds like a compliment, right? But Amelia added, She said most guys like that are secretly controlling. She asked if you ever hold money over my head. I laughed it off at the time because it was ridiculous. I'd never once made Amelia feel like she owed me for anything. If anything, I always encouraged her to focus on herself and let me worry about the bills. But I could tell it stuck in Amelia's mind because she started insisting on paying for little things here and there, like coffee or gas money when we'd go on a trip. It wasn't a big deal, but it felt like the dynamic between us was shifting. Then came the criticisms. Liz was always finding something wrong with what I did, no matter how thoughtful or kind it was. One day, I surprised Amelia at work with her favorite sushi because she'd mentioned skipping lunch to finish an assignment. She texted me later, thanking me, but then added, Liz said it was sweet, but she thought it was weird you didn't ask what I wanted first. I was confused. I brought her the exact order she always got at her favorite spot. Why would I need to ask? Another time, Amelia and I went out for a nice dinner to celebrate her first promotion. We were having a great time until she mentioned, Liz thinks you should have let me pick the place. She says you always take control of stuff like that. I'd chosen the restaurant because it was a spot she'd been wanting to try for months. But suddenly, it felt like even doing something nice could be twisted into a flaw. Liz didn't stop at my gestures. She had plenty to say about my job, too. One night, I was fixing a clogged sink in Amelia's apartment when she mentioned offhand, Liz asked what you do for work today. When I told her you own a plumbing business, she said, Oh, that's cute. Cute? Owning a business isn't cute. It's hard work, and I'd built it from the ground up. But that wasn't even the worst part. Amelia added, She asked if I ever wished you did something more polished, like in an office or something. That one stung. I knew I wasn't some big shot executive, but I'd always been proud of what I did. My business paid the bills, and it was honest work. Still, Amelia reassured me, Liz is just blunt sometimes. Don't take it personally. But I could see Liz's words starting to seep into Amelia's thoughts. Amelia started making little comments that felt out of character. Things like, Do you ever think about expanding your business into something bigger? Or, Have you ever thought about taking classes to learn more about business management? On the surface, they sounded like innocent questions, but paired with everything Liz had been saying, they felt loaded. It wasn't just the comments, though. Liz had this way of inserting herself into our lives, even when I wasn't around. For example, Amelia told me about a work event where everyone brought their partners. I couldn't make it because I had an emergency call from a regular client whose basement was flooding. When Amelia mentioned why I wasn't there, Liz said, See? That's the thing with guys like him. Their work always comes first. Amelia said she stuck up for me, but the seed was planted. Later, she asked, Do you think you'll always have to handle emergencies like that? What happens when we have kids someday? Liz's poison wasn't just in the things she said. It was in how she framed herself as the wise friend who knew better. Anytime Amelia and I had a disagreement, Liz would swoop in with her unsolicited opinions. If I forgot to text Amelia back right away, Liz would say, That's a red flag. Communication is so important. If I planned any kind of surprise, Liz would ask, Don't you wish he'd ask for your input more? It was like she couldn't stand the idea of us being happy. One of the most blatant moments came when I helped Amelia move into a new apartment. I spent the whole weekend hauling furniture, assembling shelves, and fixing little things around the place. Amelia thanked me but later mentioned, Liz said it's great that you're so handy, but she thinks it's weird you didn't hire movers. She said it's not worth risking your back over some boxes. I was floored. Who criticizes someone for helping their girlfriend move? What really got to me was how Amelia started questioning herself and us. She'd say things like, Do you think we're too different? Or, Liz says relationships like ours only work for so long. I'd always reassure her, reminding her of everything we'd built together. But the more I tried to hold us together, the more Liz seemed to be pulling us apart. I can't believe how much power Liz had over our relationship. At the time, I didn't want to believe that someone could be so intentionally destructive. But Liz wasn't just some opinionated coworker. She was a snake in the grass, and I didn't realize how bad it was until it was too late. Then came the big night. I had it all planned out. That night was supposed to be the beginning of a new chapter for me and Amelia, the woman I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with. But instead, it was the night everything fell apart. We'd been dating for nearly a decade, since high school. Through all the ups and downs, I never doubted what we had. So I decided it was time to take the next step. I thought it would make Amelia feel safe after all the insecurities she'd been having. I bought the ring a month ago. It wasn't just flashy or over the top, it was also thoughtful. I'd made sure it was designed the way I wanted, with both of our birthstones forming a heart in the center and small diamonds framing it. There was even room to add stones later for when we had kids. I'd also made a custom box with two buttons, one that lit up yes and another for no. It was cheesy, sure, but it felt like us. I wanted her to see how much thought I'd put into it, how much I'd planned for our future. That night, I picked her up for dinner at a cozy Italian spot she'd mentioned wanting to try. I'd reserved a quiet table in the corner, thinking it would be the perfect spot for the proposal. I'd rehearsed what I was going to say 100 times in my head. The night started off fine. She looked beautiful as always, wearing this emerald dress that matched the color of her eyes. We talked about her work and my business, and for a while it felt like old times. But there was something off about her. She was quieter than usual, distracted almost, like her mind was somewhere else. Halfway through the meal, I reached for the small box in my pocket. My palms were sweaty and my heart was pounding. I was about to pull it out when she cleared her throat and said, "I need to talk to you about something." I froze, hand still in my pocket. "Sure," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She looked down at her plate, not at me, and said, "I've been thinking a lot about us lately, and I think we need to take a break." I sat there, stunned. A break? Where was this coming from? "What do you mean, a break?" I asked. She finally looked up, her eyes already watery. "I don't know if this is working anymore. I feel like we've been drifting apart, and I need time to figure out what I want." She hesitated. "Liz says we're mismatched. She thinks I'm holding myself back." The words hit me like a punch to the chest. For a moment, I couldn't even speak. This was the woman I'd spent nearly half my life with, the woman I was planning to propose to that very night. And now she was saying she didn't know if she wanted me anymore? I took a deep breath and pulled the box out of my pocket. I didn't open it, just held it in my hand and looked at her. "Do you see this?" I said, my voice calm but firm. Her eyes widened when she realized what it was. "Is that—" "Yeah," I said. "This is the ring I was going to give you tonight. I was going to ask you to marry me, Amelia, to spend the rest of your life with me. But now?" I shook my head. "You don't deserve it." She started to say something, but I held up my hand to stop her. "No, let me finish. I have spent years supporting you, believing in you, and building a future for us. And this? This is how you repay me? By blindsiding me with some vague break crap over dinner? Thank God you showed me your true colors before we got into anything more serious." Her face crumpled, and I could see tears streaming down her cheeks, but I didn't care. I stood up, tucked the box back into my pocket, and grabbed my jacket. "You want a break?" I said, looking her dead in the eyes. "Fine, but don't come crawling back to me when you realize what you've lost." With that, I turned and walked out of the restaurant, leaving her sitting there at the table. The drive home was a blur. My mind was racing, flipping through every moment we'd shared, and wondering where it had gone wrong. How could she do this to me? After everything I'd done for her, everything we'd been through? I kept telling myself I did the right thing by walking away, by standing my ground. I'd given her everything I had, and if that wasn't enough for her, then that was her loss. I wasn't going to beg or chase after her. I knew my worth, and I wasn't about to settle for someone who couldn't see it. I left the ring on the counter as a reminder, not of her, but of what I deserved. A partner who appreciated me, who believed in me, and who wouldn't throw everything away on a whim. I decided to distract myself the way everyone does these days, by mindlessly scrolling through social media. Big mistake. I opened Instagram, expecting the usual flood of memes and food pics. But instead, the first thing I saw was Liz's story. She'd posted a video of a party, and at first it seemed harmless, just people drinking, dancing, and laughing. But then I saw her. There was Amelia, draped over some random guy, clearly hammered. He had his arm around her waist, pulling her close like they were anything but strangers. She was giggling, leaning into him in a way that made my stomach churn. I froze, staring at the screen, hoping I'd imagined it. But no, it was her. And then I noticed something else. I'd been tagged in the story. Liz didn't make it public. She used that sneaky feature in Instagram where only the tagged person knows they've been tagged. It was like she wanted to make sure I saw it without letting anyone else know. For a moment, I just sat there, stunned. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This was the same woman who told me just hours earlier that she needed a break to figure out what she wanted. And now she was grinding on some random guy like the ink on her breakup speech wasn't even dry. I felt a wave of anger so strong it made my hands shake. It wasn't just about the guy or the party. It was the fact that Liz, of all people, was behind this. The same Liz who had spent months tearing me down, planting doubts in Amelia's head, and criticizing everything I did. Now she was posting this garbage for me to see. I didn't even know what to do with myself. I closed Instagram, put my phone down, and just sat there, staring at the wall. Part of me wanted to call Amelia right then and there, but I stopped myself. She'd made her choice. And now I was seeing exactly what that choice looked like. A few hours later, my phone lit up with her name. I ignored it at first, but she kept calling. 3, 4, 5 times in a row. Finally, I picked up, more out of curiosity than anything else. "Hello," I said, keeping my voice cold. "Babe, please, let me explain," she sobbed. I could hear the panic in her voice. I didn't say anything, letting her talk. "I didn't know Liz would post that," she cried. "It was a mistake. It meant nothing." I let out a bitter laugh. "A mistake? You hooked up with some random guy right after breaking up with me. That's not a mistake, Amelia. It's a choice. A very deliberate choice." "It wasn't like that," she pleaded. "I was drunk and Liz introduced me to him. I didn't even know what was happening until—" "Until what?" I cut her off. "Until Liz decided to document it for the world to see? You expect me to believe you didn't know what you were doing?" "She manipulated me," Amelia said, her voice breaking. Hearing her try to shift the blame just made me angrier. "You want to blame Liz now? Fine. But you're the one who let this happen. You're the one who decided that the best way to figure out what you want was to wrap yourself around some stranger. That's on you, Amelia, not Liz." There was silence on the other end of the line. For a moment, I thought she'd hung up, but then I heard her sniffle. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I was stupid and I—" "Don't," I interrupted. "Don't apologize. You don't get to cry and say you're sorry when you clearly knew what you were doing. You made your bed. Now lie in it." She started to say something else, but I didn't care. I hung up and blocked her number. I wasn't in the mood to hear her excuses. Every time I thought about her voice, the way she tried to twist things to make herself the victim, I felt sick. I couldn't even be mad at the guy in Liz's story. He didn't owe me anything. But Amelia? She was supposed to be my partner, my ride or die. Seeing her act like our relationship meant nothing was the final nail in the coffin. The next morning, I woke up to a flood of texts and missed calls from our mutual friends. I guess Amelia had told them what happened, or maybe Liz's story made the rounds. Either way, I wasn't in the mood to explain myself. I just sent a blanket message to a few close friends, letting them know I was fine, but needed space. It wasn't my job to manage anyone's opinions about the situation. I was drained and honestly just wanted to focus on moving forward. So, here I am, Reddit. Have any of you been through something like this? I keep replaying everything in my head and wondering if I was too harsh. But at the same time, I can't ignore how deliberate it all felt. Amelia let Liz plant these ideas, let her interfere in our relationship, and then turned around and acted like she was powerless in the situation. And Liz? How do people like her even exist? Who goes out of their way to blow up someone else's life just for fun? I don't know what the next step is. Part of me feels like cutting them both out of my life completely is the only way to protect my sanity. Am I wrong for being this cold about it? Or is this just what happens when people show you who they really are? I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'll keep you updated if anything else happens in the coming days. Update 1. Hey Reddit! First off, I want to thank everyone for the advice, support, and yes, even the sarcastic comments on my last post. One of you said something like, "Dude, Liz sounds like she's auditioning for America's Worst Coworkers." And honestly, I laughed harder than I have in weeks. You guys helped me see that I wasn't crazy for feeling the way I did. So, thanks for that. Sorry it's taken me a while to update. Life's been a lot. Between work, sorting through my feelings about Amelia, and some unexpected health stuff, we'll get to that, I've been stretched pretty thin. But I'm here now, so let's dive in. In the weeks after the breakup, Amelia tried to reconnect. She'd send these long texts apologizing, saying she didn't know what she was thinking, and asking if we could meet up to talk things through. I ignored her at first, but she kept pushing. Eventually, I sent her a short response. Amelia, I've already said everything I needed to. You made your choice, and I'm moving on. Please respect that. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. She'd pop up out of nowhere, liking old pictures on Instagram or trying to leave comments like, "Miss this day?" I didn't respond to any of it. I'd already wasted enough energy on someone who didn't value me, and I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction of knowing she still had access to my life. Now, here's where things take a turn. About 2 weeks ago, I started feeling off. Just tired all the time, with these weird dizzy spells that wouldn't go away. I chalked it up to stress from everything with Amelia and Liz, but when I almost passed out at work, I figured it was time to get checked out. Long story short, I needed surgery. It wasn't anything super serious or life-threatening, but it still wasn't fun. I wasn't exactly thrilled about it, but my friends and family were supportive. My guys at work even took on extra shifts so I wouldn't have to stress about the business while recovering. The surgery itself went fine, and I woke up groggy but okay. I was still coming out of it when I noticed someone sitting by my bed. At first, I thought it was one of my friends or family members. But nope, it was Liz. Let me set the scene for you. I'm lying there in one of those awful hospital gowns, barely able to keep my eyes open, and Liz is sitting there like she's my caretaker or something. She had this concerned look on her face, like we were best friends and she'd been worried sick about me. "Oh my God, I'm so glad you're okay," she said, leaning forward like we were some kind of cute couple. I was too out of it to fully process what was happening, but I managed to croak out, "What are you doing here?" She gave me this soft smile and said, "I heard you were in the hospital. I just had to make sure you were all right." Had to? Liz? The same Liz who'd spent months trying to sabotage my relationship with Amelia? Yeah, okay. She kept talking, saying things like, "I feel so bad about everything with Amelia. You didn't deserve that. And you're such a good guy." She didn't know what she had. It was like she was trying to rewrite history, painting herself as the supportive friend who'd always been in my corner. At one point, she even reached out to hold my hand. I didn't pull away, mostly because I was too tired to argue, but I could feel the gears turning in her head. Liz wasn't here out of concern. She was here because she saw an opportunity. As I lay there, half conscious, everything started to click. Liz had been scheming from the start. The little comments she made to Amelia, the constant criticisms of me, the way she inserted herself into our relationship, it was all part of some twisted plan. And now, with Amelia out of the picture, she was trying to slide her way into my life. It's funny how clear things become when you're stuck in a hospital bed with nothing else to do but think. Liz wasn't just a bad friend or a toxic coworker. She was manipulative, calculated, and selfish. She didn't care about me or Amelia. She cared about getting what she wanted, no matter who she had to hurt along the way. Here's the thing about people like Liz. They think they're smarter than everyone else. They think they can manipulate and scheme their way into whatever they want without anyone catching on. But she underestimated me. I have a plan for Liz. I'm not going to say too much right now because I want to make sure it plays out exactly how I envision it. Just know that once I'm fully recovered, she's going to learn what it feels like to be outplayed. So, stay tuned, Reddit. I'll update you when the time is right. Let's just say Liz might regret ever stepping foot into that hospital room. Thanks again for all the support. Your advice has been a huge help. And honestly, reading your comments has kept me sane through all this. I'll be back soon with another update. Until then, wish me a speedy recovery. Update 2. Hey Reddit. First of all, wow. The response to my last post was insane. I didn't expect so many of you to get invested in this whole situation, but here we are. Thank you for the advice, support, and hilarious comments. I saw someone say, "Liz sounds like the type of person who'd fake being nice to adopt a cat just to post about it on Instagram." And I couldn't agree more. You guys really get me. I know a lot of you wanted to know what my plan was, so buckle up. Things played out almost exactly how I hoped, and let me just say, it was satisfying. After I was discharged from the hospital and started feeling better, Liz didn't waste any time. She texted me almost every day, starting with these super casual, just checking in messages. Stuff like, "Hey, hope you're feeling okay." Or, "Let me know if you need anything. I'm here for you." At first, I ignored her. I mean, I wasn't stupid. I knew what she was doing. But after a while, I realized that playing along might actually work in my favor. So I started replying, not too much, just enough to keep her on the hook. "Thanks for checking in. I'm doing all right. Appreciate it. Recovery's been slow, but I'm getting there." Liz ate it up. Her texts got longer and more personal, filled with things like, "You're such a strong person," and I don't know how Amelia ever let you go. She started dropping little hints about how she'd always thought I deserved better and how much she admired me. At one point, she even sent me a picture of a casserole she'd made, saying, "I'd love to bring this over if you're up for company." I declined, obviously, but it was clear she was trying to worm her way in. The real shift happened about 2 weeks after I got out of the hospital. Liz called me out of nowhere, saying she'd just been thinking about me and wanted to hear my voice. I could practically hear her laying it on thick, talking about how worried she'd been during my surgery and how she'd prayed for me. "Thanks, Liz," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "That means a lot." Then she hit me with, "I feel like this whole thing has brought us closer, you know? Like, it's made me realize how much I care about you." I almost laughed. She didn't care about me, she cared about winning. But instead of shutting her down, I leaned into it. "Yeah, I guess it has," I said. That one sentence was all it took. Liz went full throttle after that, texting me constantly, calling me babe in messages, and even suggesting we hang out sometime soon. The thing about Liz is that she's predictable. She thought she was being slick, but everything she did just made her intentions clearer. It wasn't about me, it was about her ego. She wanted to prove she could get me, just like she'd tried to ruin what I had with Amelia. So, I let her think she was winning. I started texting her back more often, dropping compliments here and there, and even agreeing to meet up. At that point, I knew she thought she had me wrapped around her finger. When we finally hung out, Liz was all over me. She kept touching my arm, laughing at every little thing I said, and dropping hints about how much she valued honesty and loyalty in a relationship. It was honestly exhausting to watch her try so hard, but I played along. Eventually, one thing led to another, and yeah, we hooked up. I'm not proud of it, but it was part of the plan. The next morning, I didn't text her back. Or the day after that, or the day after that. Liz, of course, started blowing up my phone. "Hey, everything okay? Did I do something wrong? Can we talk?" She called me at least a dozen times, left voicemails, and even sent me a few messages on Instagram. By the end of the week, I had a collection of frantic texts and missed calls from her, all begging me to give her a chance. That's when I made my move. I screenshotted every single text she sent me, along with a few of the voicemails where she was practically sobbing about how much she cared about me. Then I sent them all to Amelia in one big batch. No explanation, no message, just the screenshots. Once they were delivered, I blocked them both on everything. I know some of you are probably thinking, "Dude, that's harsh." But hear me out. Liz had been playing games with my life for months, tearing apart my relationship and manipulating everyone around her. By sending those screenshots to Amelia, I wasn't trying to get her back or start drama. I just wanted the truth to come out. Amelia needed to see who Liz really was and how far she was willing to go to get what she wanted. I wanted Amelia to see what she'd thrown our relationship for. And honestly, blocking Liz felt incredible. I felt like I was in control again, like I wasn't just reacting to the chaos she caused. Now I'm sitting back and watching the fallout. Liz wanted control, and instead, I turned the tables. Amelia and Liz might have their own reckoning to deal with now, but I'm done playing their games. And trust me, Reddit, this isn't the last you'll hear from me. Let me recover fully. I'll give them both time to process and feed you with the update soon. Update 3. Hey Reddit, I promised I'd keep you updated, and oh boy, things escalated fast. Apparently my little move, sending all of Liz's frantic messages to Amelia, set off a chain reaction I couldn't have planned better if I tried. Here's what I heard through the grapevine. Amelia didn't take kindly to finding out that Liz, her supposed friend, had been scheming behind her back. She confronted Liz at work, and things went from 0 to 100 real quick. From what I've been told, it started with Amelia demanding an explanation, asking Liz why she'd tried to sabotage our relationship and then swoop in after the breakup. Liz, being Liz, tried to play innocent. She claimed I was the one pursuing her, and that Amelia was overreacting. But Amelia wasn't buying it. Someone who works with them told me the argument got so loud that the manager had to step in. But it didn't stop there. Apparently, Amelia called Liz out in front of their coworkers, accusing her of being manipulative and trying to ruin her life. Liz fired back, and before anyone could stop them, things got physical. I don't have all the details, but I know it ended with both of them being escorted out by security. The aftermath? They were both fired. Honestly, I don't feel bad for either of them. Liz got exactly what she deserved. And Amelia, well, I can't say she's completely innocent in all this either. She let Liz worm her way into our relationship, and by the time she realized how toxic Liz was, the damage was already done. I don't know what's next for them, but I'm staying far, far away from the drama. I feel like I'm finally in a place where I can breathe. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for sticking with me through this mess. I'll keep you posted if anything else comes up, but for now, I'm just enjoying the peace. Update 4. Hey Reddit. It's been a while, and honestly, I thought I'd have nothing left to share. I figured the whole Liz and Amelia drama was over, and I could finally just move on with my life. But of course, people like them don't go quietly. A week after the fallout at their job, Amelia showed up at my door. She looked like a mess. Eyes puffy from crying, hair thrown up in a lazy bun like she didn't even bother trying to look put together. Liz planted all those doubts, she said. She made me think you weren't good enough. But it was all her. I see that now. Please, let's fix this. I just stood there, letting her talk. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. When she finally stopped, I told her, Amelia, I gave you everything and you threw it away. You let someone like Liz tear us apart, and now you want to come back? I can't do this anymore. I've moved on. She begged, even cried, but I didn't budge. I wished her the best and closed the door. The very next day, as if on cue, Liz tried her luck. She sent me this long text first from a random account I didn't recognize, saying how sorry she was and how she'd made mistakes, but was willing to do whatever it took to make things right. I ignored it, so she showed up uninvited, all smiles and fake sweetness. I know I messed up, she started, but I know you care about me. We could make this work. I see that now. I didn't even let her finish. I looked her dead in the eye and said, you both made your choices. Now live with them. Then I walked back inside and shut the door in her face. That was the last time I saw either of them. Since then, life has been peaceful. My business is thriving. I've even expanded it and hired more people. I've been spending more time with my friends and focusing on myself, which has been long overdue. And yeah, I've started dating someone new. She's amazing, down to earth, kind, and most importantly, she actually appreciates me for who I am. She doesn't care that I run a plumbing business instead of sitting behind a fancy desk in some corporate office. She's supportive, honest, and makes me feel like I'm enough, exactly as I am. As for Amelia and Liz, last I heard, they're both still jobless and blaming each other for everything. Mutual friends say they barely speak now, and when they do, it's just to throw insults. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little amused by the irony of it all. They destroyed each other trying to come after me, and I walked away without a scratch. If I've learned anything from all this, it's that you've got to pay attention to the people you let into your life. Not just your partner, but their friends too. Sometimes the wrong influences can do more damage than you realize. And for anyone who's been through something similar, find someone who values you for who you are, not for who they think you should be. Don't settle for someone who listens to people like Liz or lets doubts creep in because of someone else's opinion. You deserve better than that. Life's good now, and I plan to keep it that way. Thanks for sticking with me through this wild ride, Reddit. Here's to better days ahead.